So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening. And we do hope that all of you are keeping safe and just completed your daily routine. And we are so glad that you have decided to spend another hour of learning with us in today's webinar. So I am Dr. Shinu Abi, Director for Corporate Training at Reva University. And let me take the pleasure of welcoming each of you for this exciting topic and an exclusive webinar on dismantling artificial intelligence, which is a live session for all our aspirants, our own participants, and all the other participants who are looking to transition their career into AI, analytics, or data science. So let me introduce today's webinar and the lead who will guide you through this webinar topic. The topic is dismantling artificial intelligence. The focus is to help all our aspirants who want to get into analytics, AI, and data science professions, to excite them about the immense opportunities available in AI field today. And to lead this webinar today, we have one of the youngest, passionate, energetic mentor and an expert who have built AI systems across companies, across domains. So let me take the pleasure of introducing Mr. Akshay Kulkarni. He is an artificial intelligence and machine learning evangelist, an author, a speaker, including forums like O'Reilly, and a mentor. We are so glad, Akshay, that you are with us as a mentor, as a trainer, as a teacher, as an inspirer to our MTech programs in artificial intelligence, and the way that the participants love your way of teaching. We are truly touched. And we are hoping that you will give a very, very interesting, exciting talk on this exciting field of artificial intelligence today. So Akshay Kulkarni has been with us for almost 2+ years now, been part of designing and delivering artificial intelligence master's programs. But before that, or now, right now, he is also working with almost 500+ global enterprises in driving AI and data science-led strategic transformation. His major areas are on machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and artificial other intelligence engagements with various domains and sectors. He has also published 2 books on data science, and he has been a regular visitor as well as a trainer speaker at O'Reilly platforms. He has even received multiple awards, including 40 under 40. So he's been one of the youngest and passionate AI expert that we have in our mentors panel. And along with that, he's been an avid speaker. He has delivered almost 300+ talks on data science and AI in various conferences. So we are so glad that today you are in the able hand who would help you with how to build a career in this era of AI. He is going to talk on what was AI, how did it start, what was the past history, what is the status today, and he is also going to talk about the exciting future of all of us have with AI. Just to give you a small background on what we do here, of course, we will come back in the end as well. We run 2 programs for working professionals, custom designed for them to transition their career into the exciting field of data science and analytics. Our program in an MBA in business analytics is ranked top in India. Along with that, we have this MTech program in AI, which is one of the research-driven, very, very meaningfully designed for working professionals. We would want all of you to visit our website and see what we do on these 2 fields to know more about our programs. So I would take no less time now, and I would request Akshay to excite our participants on this opportunities available in the AI field and how everyone of you who are participating, who are listening, can be a stakeholder in this great AI explosion that you would see in this future. So over to you, Akshay. And before I leave, please connect with Akshay. He is active on LinkedIn. And if you are looking at networking with the right people in this field, I would recommend strongly Akshay. So over to you, Akshay. I will stop the screen share now. Over to you for taking over.
All right. Thank you so much, for your kind words. Uh, I'm just quickly sharing my screen. Uh, so probably next 30 minutes or so, or probably 40 minutes, I'll divide it into two part, right? In the part one, will try to uncover or explore the world of AI. When I say that, what I mean is, we'll start with defining AI. What are its components, or probably where exactly machine learning, deep learning, and all of the jargons what we hear day in day out fits into the world of AI. And then slowly we'll move on to how AI has evolved over the years and decades, where we stand currently, what are the applications, what are the use cases, or AI systems what we see in and around us. And then slowly we move on to the part two, wherein once we have understood what AI systems are or what artificial intelligence is, we will talk about how we can leverage artificial intelligence to solve some of the industry or business problems, right? How AI is helping kind of improve the revenues, reduce cost, and probably have a digital transformation for the businesses. So if you look at the screen, right, these are some of the AI applications what we see in and around us on day-to-day activities, right? Starting from, suppose, let's say you're looking for some of the exploration you want to do on one particular topic. Google search result, your Amazon recommendations, your Netflix recommendations, right? Probably if I go back maybe 5 years, Facebook, when you upload a pic in the Facebook along with your friends, you probably have to tag them manually. But now Facebook helps you suggest or predict who is that in the picture. Be it the fraud detection when it comes to your credit cards, all your financial assets, and then sentiment analysis, spam filter, and obviously the future, right? The self-driving car. All of this, what we see or hear around us on day-to-day basis, are driven by AI. Now, we know a bit about the applications around AI, what are the systems we see in and around us, but what exactly is AI? How do we define it? If you ask me, it's just trying to replicate intelligence into machines. Or probably, I would say, not really a human intelligence, but closer to human intelligence. When you're trying to replicate that into a machines or a systems, you define it as a artificial intelligence, as the name says. Now, in this hierarchy, how machine learning and deep learning is connected to AI? So machine learning and deep learning are probably the components or the small components of the overall artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a bigger umbrella. Any machines that exhibit intelligence, you call it as an artificial intelligence. Similarly, when you talk about machine learning, you're trying to kind of teach machines through the data. So data is our, I would say, probably experience, right? As human, we learn from experience. Similarly, for machines, for AI to learn something, they need an experience, and that is a data for us. So we are making machines intelligent through data. And obviously, deep learning is again a component of artificial intelligence, or probably an extension of machine learning, I would call it as. Right. So if probably if some of you are not clear, I'll make it more clear here. Right. Let's take an example of a kid who is trying to explore things. So maybe he has just started. He's maybe 2 years old, or maybe 1.5 year old. He's just started walking, and he's just learning few things by himself by exploring. Right. And maybe out of the blue, there's an instance where a baby touches a hot substance, right? Be it anything, a hot vessel or any of the substance. Baby realizes, or a kid realizes, that hey, that's a hot substance, probably I shouldn't be touching it going forward. So that's learning by experience. That's how we learn as a human. Similarly, we are trying to inculcate a similar behavior into machines through data. And that's nothing but artificial intelligence, where we are trying to exhibit intelligence into machines or by machines through data. Right? So we are good with two terminologies at high level here. One is AI, the other one is data. Now, AI is not new. Probably, I think it's been maybe 5 to 6 years. You all have been hearing about artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning, deep learning, whatnot. But it's not new. It's been there since past 70, 80 years. Right? However, the deep learning era, it's been just, I would say, less than a decade. But still, artificial intelligence and machine learning probably predominantly were there since the last 40, 50 years. If that is the case, why now? If we have been dealing with AI, if we know about AI and machine learning since past 30, 40, 50 years, then why all of a sudden AI is hot in the air? Why everybody is talking about artificial intelligence? Name any leader in this business world. They can never refrain from using word artificial intelligence, data science, analytics in any of the talks they are delivering. Why now? Right? So, like I said before, there are two elements to it, the data and the AI. When I talk about data, with time, companies, organizations, industries have started realizing the value of data. They've started storing data. That's wherein you see a good amount of demand for the data engineers who are helping us to store and make data readily accessible for data scientists or AI engineers. And with this, with time, data, which is the amount of data which has been collected or stored, has skyrocketed. And in past 3-4 years, businesses, companies have started realizing that data-driven decisions are more profitable. Instead of just vaguely saying, hey, for this particular group of customers, give a 20% offer on probably so and so category or jewelry category. Instead of just saying this from randomly or from some business experience, if I'm able to back that with the data and fine tune my marketing strategies, that is more profitable. And obviously the computing power, Google coming into big player, not only Google, be it Amazon, AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, all of this are helping us run machine learning, deep learning algorithms on a huge data. And lately, NLP has started taking a lot of traction, wherein we know that 80% of the data in this whole world is unstructured. When I say unstructured, you can imagine your emails, the text data, the reviews, all of this, the images, audio, all of this data, we call it as unstructured data. There are algorithms now which perform really well. And probably with due course of time, as we move along the slides, you would see a few of the examples. So this is why a kind of AI is hot in the air. So let's get into the brief history where it all started. So probably I would say, again, this is not really AI, I would call it, but for me at least, it's an intelligence exhibited by machine. 1672, the first known calculator which performed only 4 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. For me, probably different experts or different people have different opinions about it, but at least I would call it as an intelligence, at least exhibited by machines. So that's why I tagged this as first AI. And then you directly see the applications of AI, or probably the research started in 1950s, wherein Alan Turing, I'm sure many of you here have heard about Alan Turing. He is his fathers of modern AI. So he started or termed this or coined this term as a Turing test. Now, what is this Turing test? This slide talks about a Turing test with a simple example wherein you see there's an interviewer who is a human being, and he is trying to interview a person and a artificial intelligence system in two different rooms. How and interviewer obviously cannot see both of them. He's just passing on his communication or questions through text, and he's getting the response. And if the interviewer cannot figure out who the human is before the time is up, AI passes the Turing test, which means that interviewer was not able to explicitly mention, hey, in this room there's an AI. The answers what I see are from artificial intelligence system and not from a human being. Whereas on the other side, it's from a human being. If he's not able to clearly kind of differentiate between person and an AI, that system passes the Turing test. Around probably, I would say 1960s, that's wherein AI practice began. In colleges, in universities, the research, learning, it all started in 1960s. Right? And probably the first college where the AI research was founded is Dartmouth College in 1956. And then in 1990s, I'm not sure how many of you have heard about this, IBM's Deep Blue, that beats a person who is kind of a just champion. And this was a breakthrough for AI. And this is probably, I would say, in 1990s. And followed by, we have again from IBM, which is Watson, where there was a quiz. And this was the first sign of AI beating people at non-math. We all know that calculators are great. We can never compute with calculators. Right? So similarly, this was a test to see if we have AI capable enough to beat people at non-math. Again, this is from IBM Watson in 2011. In 2016, I'm sure everybody might have heard about this, if not the previous ones. Google's DeepMind beats Lee Sedol at Go. And this was another breakthrough where people were imagining, or experts or researchers were imagining, that we might reach this stage in late 2020s, or probably 2030s, but we achieved this far ahead of our expectations. Today, AI is everywhere. Any industry, any application, any enterprise, any business domains, you see AI. On the left hand side, you see all the enterprises, autonomous systems, industry, domains, and on the right hand side, you see the technology stack. When we see AI, it's not just machine learning or deep learning. There are multiple elements to it, right from engineering, data engineering, sciences, and then probably the ML operations as well. Now, why does AI matter? Our lives, businesses, and society, everywhere, at least in 2020s, we see AI is significantly impacting all of the three corners of this triangle. How, where, when? Let's talk about all of that in the coming slides. What I call it as demystification. Probably, I'm not sure how many of you have seen this news. This is back in 2015 or 2016, where Sundar Pichai was talking about Google in one of his key I/O note. And there, he made a statement that Google is betting heavily on AI, machine learning, right? Google is going to invest so and so dollars on AI. This is what Google CEO made a statement. And the very next day, we see from Business Standards this title, what you see on the screen: Google betting big on Air India, comma, machine learning, which means that a publisher got AI in a wrong way, where Sundar Pichai meant it's Air artificial intelligence. However, the publisher got it as Air India because maybe a couple of minutes back he was talking about some airlines. When a human can kind of make such mistakes, how can you expect machines to do well there? If it was a mathematics calculation, I do agree. But then in 2017, early 2017, there was a breakthrough from natural language processing, where, yes, machines or algorithms, maybe word embeddings, I'm not sure how many of you have heard about, is able to understand the context, is able to understand when I talk about Apple, is it a fruit or is it a brand or is it a product I'm talking about? From the context. If you look at it, there was a machine learning word involved there, which means that a publisher might have realized, oh, this is machine learning, then AI stands for artificial intelligence and not Air India. This is the expectations what we have from AI. Why it is hard, right? Even now, there's a lot of research happening around this to achieve an intelligence to a greater extent. If you look at it, a simple example, right? As a kid, I dreamed of being 30 with a good car, big house, and highly paid job. At least one of the dream came true. I'm 30. If I pass on this information to the AI system to detect whether I'm being positive or I'm being negative, what is my sentiment here? It obviously says, hey, out of 3 dreams, you were able to achieve 1 dream successfully, which means that it's somewhat positive sentiment. But we know from human intelligence that it's a sarcasm which is involved there. It's a negative sentiment what we see. So there are a lot of such disambiguation, which is making this AI world one of the, I would say, most research oriented field. Every day, every second, every minute, you see new algorithms coming in, new customization of algorithms coming in to solve few of these problems. Broadly, artificial intelligence is categorized into 3 types. Artificial narrow intelligence, we call it as ANI. And then we have second type, which is AGI, artificial general intelligence. And the third type is artificial super intelligence. Now let's try to understand what each of these are and where we stand currently. ANI is specialized in just one area. If I build a one system to do a particular task, it can only do that. However, as a human being, we can do multiple tasks at a time, or probably in sequence or in parallel. Our brain is customized in such a way that I can perform mathematical calculations. I can do a sentiment analysis. I can understand what is the emotion or sentiment from this text. But ANI, if you build one system or one model, it is specialized into only one area. And in today's world, most of the applications, what you see, are ANI. Be it your image detection, be it your chatbots, be it your Apple, Siri, or Alexa, all of this are ANI. We are in a phase where we are slowly moving from ANI to AGI, wherein a particular system is capable of doing multiple things. And at a high level, these are the 7 abilities we talk about. Your algorithm, your model, your AI system should be capable enough to reason it itself, plan, solve the problems, comprehend different ideas to solve it, learn quickly from experience. And probably I would say a deep reinforcement learning, or probably there where we want to move forward. That is where we are between ANI and AGI. Obviously, ASI is just a super intelligence, which we talk about, which is, I would say, extraordinary intelligence, even smarter than humans in every other way. And this is still a dream, or probably I would say far achieved. At least artificial intelligence, when I talk about artificial intelligence, I mean ANI is all around us, right? Now let's look at the 10 business applications, major business applications. Simple, sweet, most impactful from a customer experience standpoint, wherein you don't have to really worry about going through hundreds of spam emails. Google helps it catch and filter out the spam emails. Netflix uses AI for the recommendations. And probably this is not the right forum to discuss about its revenue through the recommendations, but most of the recommendation engines produce revenue close to 30 to 40%. And that's how, if you look at it, right, the human tendency, when someone comes and recommends you, right, hey, yesterday I watched so and so movie, it's really cool, it's really nice, I liked it, this is into this genre and whatnot, you get influenced. And this is a human behavior tendency, what is being captured from the data in the form of algorithms, which will make these businesses, be it Netflix, Amazon, or whatnot, to understand what is your need and probably try to sell that. Chatbots everywhere, be it you booking a movie, or be it you want to chat with the other person from the business, right? Be it you make an order in Swiggy, you make an order in any of the e-commerce. Sometimes these chatbots make us realize or think, oh, is it really a human on the other side, or is it a chatbot? That's how efficient and probably intelligent these chatbots are. Obviously, healthcare, I would say it's still trying hard to achieve a greater accuracy, because false positives, false negatives play a major role when we are trying to predict any diseases. But then if you're able to achieve that, it's nothing like it. We can save many lives, we can cure many diseases. And I'm just trying to touch upon, when I say 10 different business applications, I'm trying to touch upon different domains here at a high level. Uber is using AI to kind of allocate a cab to a particular customer through its optimization. Which cab to pick which passenger, so that it's optimized and on the road at a particular time, you see less number of cars which are not in service. This feature, at least I like it a lot. Autocorrect and autocomplete. Trust me, it's saving a lot of my time. Not only when it comes to search, even while you're writing an email. I'm just going to that example here. This is a WAF. I mean, it's been what, 2 years now, or probably 1.5 years. We start Google has released this feature, text generation, wherein it predicts based on your previous instances, based on what you have been typing, it predicts what can be the next set of words or next sentence for you while you're writing an email. I have saved a lot of time leveraging this feature. And I must say that Gmail has the best accuracy so far I've seen. These are a few of the companies. I know I have skipped a couple of applications which were around, grammar checking, as well as your language translation, your subtitle generation in different languages. All of this are driven by AI. And here I've put in few companies or the startups which are transforming industries with artificial intelligence. They are betting heavily. So this is another, I would say, guesstimate from the research that we can expect the computing power to get cheap by 2025, which means that around that time, we will be able to achieve AGI. So we are somewhere between ANI and AGI now, but probably next 20 years or so, we will be in a stage where a particular system will be able to perform multiple tasks, almost closer to human intelligence. And if you're able to achieve, a self-driving car by then, I think that's one of the fascinating outcome of AGI. Here are what few of the industry experts are saying, right? Again, AI is the renaissance of the society. This is by Jeff Bezos. AI is the new electricity. This was coined by Andrew Yang long ago. So when he says that, what exactly he means is, and I'm sure everybody knows Andrew Yang here. If you are an aspirant, if you are looking to learn AI, machine learning, deep learning, you would have definitely come across Andrew Yang courses and Andrew Yang blogs, Andrew Yang books. So what exactly he means when he says new electricity? So if I go back few 100 years, our great ancestors were easily living without electricity. There was no electricity then. For them, life was as usual. They did not see the need of electricity. Or probably they were happy, I would say. But now, can you imagine living without electricity? Impossible. Similarly, in next 20, 30 years, AI is going to be the same, where you really cannot live without AI. That's the phase we are getting into. That's the decade we are getting into. Right? Probably in today's world, you feel, hey, I don't need an automated, door closing system. Right? Especially when you go to North America, you see most of the house or office systems has this technology wherein as you are stepping closer to its door, it identifies your, probably the way you walk, your footprints and whatnot, and opens the door automatically for you. And if someone else is walking, it says, no, you're not allowed to access this home. There's no locking system. It's all automatic. Forget about that. Let's talk about Google Home or Alexa. Not many of us have that in our home. Maybe we don't feel a need of it. But with time, you will see every home has that application. Every home has that system. Famous from CEO of Google, mobile first to AI first. That's a decade we are moving into. Right? But what if we are able to achieve all of this? At least, if not ASI, at least what if we are able to achieve AGI? There are multiple problems we can think about which could be solved. Not only be it the driving, the self-driving, it can be from the healthcare domain where you can cure the diseases. Forget about detecting the diseases. I'm talking about the disease cure, energy problem solving, and whatnot. And yeah, everybody knows him. I would say he's taking an extra mile to get there, to get to AGI. He's one of the pioneer who's taking that extra mile. Here are the 10 building blocks of AI. It's not only about just machine learning, deep learning, NLP. Everybody here might have heard about only these terms or technologies when you heard about data science or AI, but there is a lot beyond it. There is a lot, and here I'm trying to cover 10 building blocks, and keeping this as a base. When Sheenu was talking about a few of the things in first 5 minutes, she mentioned our research oriented program on MTech. These are our building blocks in that program. This is how we curated our plans, the modules, the curriculum, to make sure we are covering all the building blocks of artificial intelligence. That's a specialty, or I would say a uniqueness we bring in our program. It's not just about NLP, machine learning, and deep learning. It's way, way, way beyond that, where you build the AI system and you train it, you make it intelligent, and you see that outcome and try to compare that with the humans. The best part is, like any other technology, AI is an open source. You don't have to pay to buy any of these tools, techniques you want to build, right? So suppose, let's say I'm trying to build some application using TensorFlow or Python. It's readily available to me as an open source. That's the best part. So now we are getting into the part 2. So now I believe everybody here is at least good to some extent to understand what AI is, what are its different components, what are its applications, where we stand currently, and how the future looks like. When we know all of it, let's look at a few of the industrial applications or the use cases, and how do we kind of look at the gap. When I say gap, for you to build any system, you should understand what's the need. What is the demand? Do you really need that system? Do you really need that application? How do you identify a problem to which you have a solution through artificial intelligence? This is a typical life cycle what we follow, right? You can call it as an AI or ML life cycle, wherein there are multiple entities to it. If you want to talk about what has happened, you get into the statistics part of it. Why something has happened? Prescriptive or diagnostic statistics. What is going to happen in the future? Predictive. And how do you mitigate, or how do you kind of, reduce cost or improve revenue? What is it? What is that you need to do to make sure that your customers are retained? Your customers are happy. Your customers are having a good experience. Your perspective or inferential. These are the way you look at a problem before you solve it. Everybody is good at implementation. Everybody is good at creating a final solution or a product. But the most crucial step, what an AI engineer or a machine learning engineer or data scientist or analytics professional need to be good at, is defining the problem, understanding the business problem, and formulating an approach. This is, I would say, a crucial step. Let's talk about a simple case study here. Let's assume I'm your client and I'm coming to you as a data scientist or AI engineer that, hey, look, it's been 5 years I've set up a business, which is an e-commerce business. And from last 2 years, I'm seeing a dip in my revenue. For last 2 years, this is a significant slowdown or probably decrement in my revenue. Can you help me improve my revenue? That's the question I have. Now, you as a AI engineer, data scientist, you start looking into their business. You start understanding what their business is. What are the products they sell? How does their e-com platform look like? N number of things. Probably for probably a month time or so, you will wear a hat of a business consultant to dig deeper into the business problem. And then you start unlocking few of the use cases. First use case is that customers are moving away from you and going to the competitors. what we typically call as churn in the business world. Do we see high churn rate? Are your customers leaving your channel and moving to some other competitors? If that is the case, can I predict churn and probably try to retain the customers? This is one of the most popular use cases every domain, every industry try to solve. Customer retention is very important for every businesses to keep their revenue intact. Customer segmentation, another simple use case. But what does this mean? What is customer segmentation? Everybody knows maybe, hey, I'm going to build a clustering algorithm here to group customers. But why do I need to do that? So here customers are grouped based on their behavior, so that instead of having a mass campaigning, mass marketing, I can have a curated campaigns for each of these groups. Maybe let's say there's one group here, what you see. If this group is mostly into buying electronics, probably I'll have an offer on electronics for them. And probably if these groups are mostly into buying fashion, I'll have offer on fashions. If this group is mostly into groceries, I'll have offer on groceries. So based on their behavior, based on their pattern, we'll try to group them and then send out a specialized offer or personalized offer. I'm sure everybody might have realized this, right? With time, not everybody gets the same offer. If you are getting one offer from a same e-com giant, your friend might be getting a different offer that is based on this AI algorithm. Recommendation systems. I think this is one of the application what every business is trying to imbibe in their platforms to make sure they're increasing their sales. What if, and here I'm picking a few of the examples or use cases from different e-commerce giants, right? This is one of the problem what a groceries e-com startup was facing, that from a different region, wherein they were getting a lot of complaints from the customers, but their customer support team was not productive enough to go through all of these emails and then probably revert for their complaint. But then they built an AI system to do that. With that, they were able to respond to the mails 4 times faster and save money on the headcount in the contact center. Personalization. If you, with time, you have been like purchasing more of a blue color, more of 32 size and whatnot. When you're trying to explore or search for a shirt with a tie, why don't you show blue color shirts on top? Because that's your preferences. That's how you have been buying previously. Personalization plays a key role in customer experience. Another retention strategy. This is at least a wow feature for me, right? I've built one such system wherein you don't have to really search through by typing in the e-com website. Suppose, let's say you're going out somewhere, you're in a party, you like someone dress. Just take a picture of it, upload it in platform, and it should be able to showcase the most similar what they have in the inventory. In at least from last 1 year, you see this feature being inculcated by most of our e-com platforms. Be it Myntra. I think Myntra's image source is fantastic when compared to rest of them. I wouldn't really say that it has a great accuracy, but at least it's reliable. If it's there in the inventory, you would definitely get an exact match. Semantic search. At least in the world of groceries, you need a semantic search. When I say semantic search, right, you don't really have to kind of, suppose, let's say you're searching for rice powder. So rice powder, I search for it, but then Grofers doesn't give me that as an outcome. But then when I search for rice flour, it gives me that outcome here. If you look at it, this is the rice flour when I type in rice flour. But when I type rice powder, it is giving all the detergent powders in the outcome. So when I search for this, I realize that rice flour might not be there, which means that even most of the search engines what you see here are not AI enabled. They are just maybe word-based search engine, wherein you need to have that word flour to get that. But internally, flour and powder are the same to some extent. Why can't your search engine understand that? Yes, in today's world, it is possible. AI based semantic search engines. This is based on the video analytics where if you realize, hey, your cameras in the stores are just for, identifying or trying to understand or probably, see if there are any thief activities happening in the store. But there's more to it. You can apply video analytics on top of it to see how your customers are behaving within the store, where exactly you need to place your products, where exactly you need to place your marketing campaigns, how to increase the footfall and whatnot. So there are like lots of such use cases what you can think of when you're trying to talk about one particular business, one particular domain. So now, as a next step, once you move out of this webinar, I have one task for you guys. I have showcased one example of e-commerce domain or retail domain and few of the use cases around it. Think about a different domain, telecom domain, finance, and see what are the things or the problems you can arrive at or define it, and how do you solve that through AI. You don't have to really be an expert of AI algorithms to understand the problem. So you can do that small analysis yourself that will help you increase your business acumen, which is a key for any AI engineer or a data scientist when he's trying to solve a problem. And with this note, I'll kind of open it for Q&A. If you have any questions, anything maybe from slide 1 till now, if you have not understood anything, if you need any clarity, I'm open for questions.
Hi, Akshay. Thank you so much. It was an excellent session. So one of the question is that what are the specific applications you have discussed in retail, but what are the most famous use cases in retail?
Okay. Definitely a good question though, because retail is a vast thing, right? When you talk about retail e-commerce, it's really vast. You can have a number of use cases in optimization as well, supply chain, inventory, demand forecasting. But then if you look at it, for every business, the first and foremost important thing is, suppose let's say you have acquired 10,000 customers in last 1 year. It's important for me to retain those customers with me. So customer retention, churn prediction is the most popular use cases in retail and e-commerce business, followed by marketing strategies, for which you need customer segmentation. You need to understand your customer behavior, right? So recommendation system, whatever you saw 1, 2, 3 in the slides, right? Top one was churn prediction and marketing strategies for customer retention, and then recommendation system to enhance your sales and improve customer experience. I think most of your e-commerce and retail applications would start with these three from an AI standpoint.
Yeah, I think you can't cover that question in 2-3 lines.
True. Yeah.
So I think the next question is also very relevant for most of the participants who might not be from this field. The question is, what kind of background is required if I have to shift to an AI career?
Okay, another good question. I was expecting this though. Most of the webinars or talks, I kind of come across this question, right? So probably if you ask me, I have a different take to this question, wherein if you're asking, maybe I'm sure everybody here might have consulted most of the people on the same question, and you might have heard that, hey, you need to be a good computer science. You need to have a good computer science knowledge. You need to be good at programming. You need to be good at statistics, mathematics. A lot of such things you might have heard. But if you ask me, no, you don't need any of those. You can learn all of those from scratch. But still, I would say there are 5 pillars which you need to be really good at. First and foremost, zeal to learn. You should have that zeal. Oh, there's a new thing which is coming in. I want to learn this. If you have zeal to learn, yes, that's one of the prerequisite, first important prerequisite. Second, passion and dedication. if you are just trying to learn AI, ML for the sake of it, for the sake of salary, because you have realized that this is one of the hot in the industry now, everybody wants to become data scientist, everybody wants to become AI engineer. If that is the case, I would say don't go for it. You should have a passion for it. Your question should be, what is passion? How can I know myself that whether I have it or not? When I was talking through a few of the examples of AI, a few of the applications, right? You should feel, hey, even I should be able to solve this. Even I want to solve this. I like this. I mean, the passion or the curiosity which is involved in solving this problem, all that matters a lot. Passion and curiosity. Third one, your business acumen. If you don't understand your business really well, there's no point in you applying AI or ML to it. It's not a typical Java developer or software developer job where you sit in one corner and just write thousands of lines of code. You even without knowing how that code is being leveraged for the outcomes. But here in data science, in AI, business knowledge is key. And again, it's something which is not there for you to learn, but you can imbibe that yourself by exploration, by trying to understand, talking to people. And that's wherein AI, ML, these are not just a course where you can go through yourself online like you do it for others. Be it Java, if you are learning Java, I recommend you, there's YouTube, there is Udemy, Coursera, go through those courses. But for AI, ML, you need an industry expert, you need a mentor who can guide you through the journey by exploring you to the world of business. That comes only through experience. The fourth important pillar is communication. Communication, when you talk about that, what exactly mean is you don't really have to be great at English. When I say communication, whatever you have done, you should be able to replicate it or able to make business people understand in a layman language, right? So you're building some state of art algorithms, but are you able to explain that to a 5-year-old kid, to a business people who doesn't understand technology? The last and very important pillar. Can anyone take a guess on that? Dedication. Zeal to learn, passion and curiosity, business acumen, communication, dedication. If you have all these 5 skill set with you, you're good to be a data scientist or AI engineer. Irrespective of background, even if you are from HR domain, even if you have done your I would say MBA, even if you have done your BSc, MSc, your background doesn't really matter. I'm a mechanical engineer, and trust me, when I was in my first year of degree, there were few lab sessions, right? Everybody knows first year it's all combined. There was a computer science subject and there was a lab session. I didn't even know how to switch on the computer CPU monitor. I didn't even know that. If I can be at the stage where I'm today, trust me, everybody can achieve a great success if you have those 5 pillars. If you're zero in statistics, if you're zero in programming, if you're zero in computer science, doesn't matter. If you have those 5 pillars, come to me, I'll make you successful. This is the dialogue what I've been saying since the last 8 years. And I must say that I'm seeing successful people every time we guide them.
Yeah, I think Akshay, and I keep telling, these are life skills that you mentioned, not prerequisites for data science or AI jobs. And any jobs today, I think all of us have to maybe fasten all these specific skills. So another interesting question, and then that could be the last question because of the paucity of time. And it's an interesting question and very relevant in today's context. The question is, in fact, these applications are already there, but the question is, can we create an AI engine to recommend availability of all the resources which is required for this COVID treatment, including hospital beds or oxygens or plasma, all that based on the social media post?
Yes.
And help people?
Yes. I'm not sure who has posted this question, but with this question, I already see you have those 5 pillars with you. This is a kind of attitude I'm looking from the folks who want to get into the world of AI. Curiosity. So immediately when we are talking about this, he saw what is happening in the current world. He saw there are some problems, and his question is, can we address this through AI? Wow, excellent, right? I mean, people are working towards that. I'm not sure about rest of the world, but at least in my company at Publicis Sapient, we have built one such system, which is helping all our employees to get the right direction, be it consulting the right doctor, be it getting the availability of the oxygen, bed, ventilators, and whatnot. So internally, we are a group of 150 data scientists now already. So out of which 10% of the folks have been dedicatedly working on that to build such system. Maybe it's not really accurate to scrape data from all the social media, but at least whatever we could come across, we have a scraper which talks about all of that, combines the information and sends out the recommendations based on the region. But suppose, let's say one of our employees, this is a recent news, right? His father needed an oxygen. His location was Delhi. So our system takes an input of the region, the age, and the symptoms, and probably it recommends what kind of nearest hospital it is, whether there is bed available or not, oxygen, whether he requires an oxygen based on the CT value of the report and other reports, etc., etc. Yes, that system is definitely possible to be built using AI, but I wouldn't say it's 100% accurate, but at least it's saving a lot of the lives and time.
Absolutely. So I also saw a recent application from Sprinkler, who has scraped different social media and then helping people on geotagging and helping the resources. Okay, so it has been an excellent session, Akshay. I would request you to turn on the next slide. So we will also kind of discuss the program that you have also endorsed to the new slide. Yeah. Okay. So REVA Academy for Corporate Excellence is a dedicated entity to help working professionals to transition themselves into these new emerging technologies. So the participants who come here, they come from various backgrounds, definitely with at least about an average experience of about 8 years plus, with a minimum experience of 3 years, most of them from the IT, but a lot of them from domain functional areas as well. We have a program on MTech in AI, which is ranked high. And like Akshay also mentioned that when we design these programs on the pillars, which are building blocks of AI, we would ensure that all these building blocks are taught with the required practical exposure and real-time projects. And most of these projects are developed or mentored or led by very, very senior industry leaders who have actually deployed these in real life. So we would say that we are lucky to have people like Akshay and other mentors with us who would take our participants in the right direction. Therefore, it is a very structured course, AICTE approved, WES approved. We have very high-end state-of-the-art AI labs. And because of the COVID, maybe most of the sessions are online. But if you see the trimester system, plus the capstone projects, which are the ultimate way for you to execute what you have learned in a real-time setting, converting that into a publication, to blogs, to even patents. So we are so excited by the enthusiasm our participants are showing in these programs. So please do connect. Maybe the next slide also, I think we have some, So analytics is another program that which we are proud of. We are ranked top second in India. This is more on a business applications of AI and data science. So here in the MTech AI program, it is more of technical applications and fine-tuning of the final solutions from the technical standpoint. Here we would look at more of revenue enhancement, cost reductions as the ultimate outcome for an MBA in business analytics participants. So though the building blocks of AI, data science, everything remain the same, the focus kind of gets shifted into domain-based applications. This is also a very interesting program to look at. Yeah, this is the business analytics. And those who are interested to know more, please do connect with any of our team members who are online. And also visit race.reva.edu.in for more information. We will put that in the chat. Yeah. So these are very, very interesting projects that which we currently work on. Akshay has also been part of some of the projects. So real-time mentoring is one of the important aspect of, we believe that if you want to really transition yourself, you need the right mentor working on the right projects, which can enhance your resume on a fast track mode. So NLP-based projects or NLG-based projects are very commonly developed by our participants for enterprise solutions. So connecting various domains and functions of organizations with AI applications is also some of the core projects that which we work on. Since we also run programs for HR managers, we have a set of simulations and applications developed to improve the value of people in an organization. We also have an MTech in cybersecurity. So therefore, we have created an interdisciplinary, multi-disciplinary kind of projects where analytics applications in cybersecurity area, which is again a very, very niche skill, and we have running applications in this area. So all these the projects differentiate all our programs. So it is not just theoretically driven sessions. These are real-time applications which you can showcase in your resume. So with that, this is the final slide we have, and we would want to thank you all for patiently listening. We thank those who are in the YouTube still. So with this, thank you so much, Akshay. It has been a pleasure listening to you, and I do hope more they listen to you, more of them get excited in this field of AI, because I am very, very excited because the way that you make it more democratize AI with very simplistic explanations. I think it is the need of the hour. We have to de-jargonize AI. We have to bring in more and more people because this is going to add value in every walk of life.
Right. Thank you so much, for your kind words.
Thank you, everyone. So
Thanks,
we will
everyone.
close this session and looking forward to see you all soon. Thank you.